The massive view screen in United Earth Defense Command headquarters displayed what many had hoped never to see: an alien fleet approaching Earth's orbit. Dr. Sarah Chen stood among the gathered military and civilian leaders, her dark eyes fixed on the crystalline structures of the Valoran ships that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. The aliens had arrived 6 months ago, emerging from a previously unknown spatial anomaly near Jupiter, and their message had been clear: humanity was primitive, barely worth acknowledging. Admiral James Torres cleared his throat, drawing attention away from the intimidating display. "Dr. Chen, you called this emergency meeting. What have you found?" Sarah stepped forward, her quantum physics credentials displayed prominently on her ID badge. 3 days ago, my team at the Quantum Dynamics Laboratory made a breakthrough in understanding the Valoran's propulsion technology. What we discovered," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "changes everything we thought we knew about quantum mechanics." The room's atmosphere shifted as Sarah activated her holographic presentation. Complex equations and wave patterns filled the air around her. The Valorans don't just manipulate quantum fields, they create quantum resonance cascades. It's why their ships seem to absorb light. They're actually bending quantum probability itself. "Dr. Chen," General Michelle Rodriguez interrupted, her weathered face showing signs of impatience, "in terms we can all understand." Sarah nodded, switching the display to a simplified model. "Imagine reality as a pond. Traditional engines are like throwing stones in. They make waves, but they're limited by the water's properties. The Valorans have found a way to change the water itself. But here's the crucial part: we've discovered how to do it better." The room erupted in whispers. Admiral Torres leaned forward, his gray eyes intense. "Better. They're centuries ahead of us, technologically. Their ambassador made that very clear." "That's just it," Sarah replied, a hint of excitement breaking through her professional demeanor. "They're using brute force methods, requiring massive energy expenditure. We found a way to create quantum resonance with a fraction of the power. It's like," she searched for an analogy, "they're using sledgehammers while we've invented precision tools." Dr. Marcus Webb, Sarah's research partner, stepped forward to join her. His tall frame contrasted with Sarah's shorter stature as he added, "We've already constructed a working prototype, small scale, but the principles are sound." The hologram shifted to show footage from their lab. A small metal sphere hung in midair, surrounded by a barely visible distortion field. As they watched, the sphere began to move in ways that seemed to defy physics, changing direction instantly without any apparent momentum. "The applications go far beyond propulsion," Sarah continued. "Weapons, shields, communications, anything involving quantum fields could be revolutionized. And the Valorans don't know we have it." Admiral Torres studied the footage intently. "How long to weaponize it?" With proper funding and resources, Sarah calculated quickly. 3 months for the first prototype weapon systems, 6 for ship-wide implementation. "The Valorans won't give us that long," General Rodriguez warned. "Their diplomatic messages have become increasingly hostile. Intelligence suggests they're preparing for military action." "Then we work faster," Sarah insisted. "We've assembled a team of the best quantum physicists and engineers from around the world. We can do this." Admiral Torres stood, his decision made. "Dr. Chen, you have whatever resources you need. General Rodriguez, initiate Protocol Dark Shield. Full media blackout on this project. As far as the public knows, we're continuing normal diplomatic relations with the Valorans." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders as she looked back at the view screen. The Valoran ships still hung there, arrogant in their technological superiority. They had dismissed humanity as primitives, barely worth their notice. That dismissal might prove to be their greatest mistake. The next weeks passed in a blur of activity. The Quantum Dynamics Laboratory, hidden deep within the Rocky Mountains, became a hive of round-the-clock research and development. Sarah's team worked tirelessly, fueled by a combination of caffeine, determination, and the knowledge that humanity's survival might depend on their success. Dr. Webb coordinated the engineering teams, transforming theoretical breakthroughs into practical applications. The beauty of our approach, he explained during one late-night session, is its elegance. The Velorans use massive power generators to brute force quantum fields. We're more like acupuncturists, finding the precise points where minimal energy can create maximum effect. The first major breakthrough came 4 weeks into the project. Sarah stood in the main testing chamber, watching as their prototype quantum resonance generator powered up. The air shimmed with possibility as the device activated, creating a field that could alter the fundamental properties of space-time itself. Power consumption at 12%, Dr. Webb reported from the control room. Field stability at 99.8%. Sarah, we did it. Before she could respond, the facility's alert system activated. Admiral Torres's voice came through the speakers, tense with urgency. Dr. Chen, we're out of time. The Veloran fleet is moving. They've launched attacks on our outer colony outposts. Sarah looked at the prototype, then at her team. They had weapons-grade systems in development, but nothing ready for deployment. How long do we have? At their current pace, 2 weeks before they reach Earth, their ambassador just delivered their message. Surrender or be eliminated. They're not even trying to hide their contempt anymore. Sarah's mind raced through calculations and possibilities. Give us 10 days. We're close to completing the first weapon prototypes. If we can arm even a few ships. You have 7 days, Doctor. That's all I can give you. Humanity is counting on you. As the communication ended, Sarah turned to her team. The looks on their faces showed a mixture of fear and determination. You heard the Admiral, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 7 days to save humanity. Let's show these aliens exactly what primitive humans can do. Dr. Webb was already moving to the development lab. I'll have the engineering teams work in shifts. We're not stopping until this is done. Sarah nodded, her mind already planning the next steps. The Velorans had laughed at human technology, dismissed their potential, and now threatened their very existence. In 7 days, they would learn just how dangerous it was to underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation when survival was on the line. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the helm of the UES Defiant, watching as her crew installed the prototype quantum resonance systems. The experimental destroyer had been chosen as the first test platform for Dr. Chen's technology, its compact size and advanced power systems, making it ideal for the rushed modifications. 6 days had passed since the Veloran ultimatum, and humanity's window of opportunity was rapidly closing. Power coupling alignment complete. Chief Engineer Kaijong reported from his station. QR field generators showing green across the board. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Elena nodded, her expression grim. Begin primary power-up sequence. Dr. Chen, your team has the con. Sarah Chen sat at the newly installed quantum resonance control station, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. The ship hummed with energy as the revolutionary system came online, creating subtle distortions in the space around them. Field stability holding at 98%. Dr. Webb announced from his monitoring station. Power consumption well within acceptable parameters. Commander, we're ready for initial maneuvering tests. Elena took her command chair, securing her harness. All hands, this is the commander. Prepare for QR drive activation. We have no idea exactly how this will feel. The Defiant hung in high Earth orbit, far from regular shipping lanes. As Sarah engaged the quantum resonance field, the stars seemed to blur slightly, reality itself bending around the ship. Beginning basic maneuver test, she announced, her voice steady despite the tension. The ship moved, not with the usual push of conventional engines, but with a smooth transition that seemed to ignore the normal laws of physics. The Defiant changed direction instantly without inertia or momentum, dancing through space like a leaf in the wind. Mother of God, Elena whispered, watching their sensor readings. They had just performed maneuvers that should have torn the ship apart, yet the crew had barely felt a thing. What's our power consumption? Holding at 15% of conventional drive requirements. Kai reported, his voice filled with wonder. The quantum field is actually becoming more efficient as we use it. It's learning. Before they could celebrate their success, the ship's communication system activated. Admiral Torres's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression urgent. Commander Reyes, we have a situation. A Velaran scout ship just dropped out of FTL near Saturn. They're scanning the outer system. Elena straightened in her chair. Sir, we're still in the testing phase. The weapons systems haven't been fully calibrated. This may be our only chance to test them in actual combat conditions before the main fleet arrives. Your orders are to intercept and engage. Show us what that ship can do. As the hologram faded, Elena turned to her crew. Battle stations. Dr. Chen, are we combat ready? Sarah's hands were already adjusting the quantum field configurations. The defensive systems are stable. Offensive capabilities are untested but operational. We can do this. The Defiant moved through space with impossible grace, its quantum resonance field making it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. The Velaran scout ship, a crystalline construct twice their size, continued its methodical scan of the system, unaware of their approach. They still haven't detected us, Tactical Officer Maya Rodriguez reported. The QR field is masking our signature completely. Elena studied the tactical display. Dr. Chen, what are our options? Their quantum shields are formidable, Sarah replied, analyzing the alien vessel's energy patterns. But they're expecting conventional weapons. Our QR-enhanced torpedoes should create localized field disruptions in their defenses. One good hit could disable them. Load quantum torpedoes. Lieutenant Rodriguez, target their primary power conduits. Let's show them what primitive technology can do. The Defiant struck without warning. 2 quantum torpedoes launched, their warheads wrapped in carefully calibrated resonance fields. The Velaran ship shields flared brilliantly as the weapons detonated, creating cascading disruptions in their defensive systems. Direct hits, Maya announced. Their shields are fluctuating. They're trying to lock weapons, but the QR field is making us impossible to target. The alien vessel's crystalline structure pulsed with energy as it launched a barrage of plasma weapons. But the Defiant was already moving, the quantum resonance drive allowing it to shift position faster than the enemy tracking systems could follow. Their weapons can't touch us, Elena realized, watching as another salvo passed harmlessly through space they had occupied microseconds before. Dr. Chen, can we end this without destroying them? Sarah's fingers flew across her console, configuring the QR field for offensive deployment. If we can extend it around their ship, we should be able to disable their systems completely. The battle, if it could even be called that, ended moments later. The Defiant's quantum resonance field expanded, enveloping the Velaran vessel in a bubble of altered spacetime. Their advanced systems, unable to cope with the fundamental changes in quantum probability around them, shut down one by one. Enemy vessel is powerless, Maya reported. Their distress beacon was activated, but our field is blocking the signal. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Send the recovery teams. I want that ship secured and its crew contained before their backup arrives. Admiral Torres needs to see this. Hours later, Elena stood in the Defiant's conference room with Sarah, Dr. Webb, and a holographic projection of the Admiral. The captured Velaran scout ship hung in space nearby, its crystalline structure dark and lifeless. The test exceeded all expectations, Sarah explained, displaying combat data. The quantum resonance technology didn't just work, it completely neutralized their advantages. Their sensors couldn't track us, their weapons couldn't hit us, and their shields were useless against our specialized attacks. Admiral Torres studied the information intently. How quickly can we replicate this success? The other test ships are already being fitted with QR systems, Dr. Webb replied. With the data from this engagement, we can optimize the configurations. Give us 3 days, and we'll have a squadron ready. The Velaran fleet will notice their scout is missing, Elena pointed out. They'll accelerate their timeline. Let them come, Torres said firmly. For the first time since they arrived, we have a real advantage. Humanity is no longer helpless against their technology. He paused, his expression hardening. And when their main fleet arrives, we'll show them exactly how dangerous it is to underestimate us. As the hologram faded, Elena turned to Sarah. How many ships can we outfit in time? Not enough to match their numbers, Sarah admitted. But if today proved anything, it's that we don't need to. Quality over quantity, Commander. We've turned their own quantum mastery against them, and they won't even see it coming. Elena looked out the conference room window at the captured Velaran vessel. Soon, its brethren would arrive in force, expecting an easy victory over primitive humans. Instead, they would face an enemy that had taken their greatest strength and transformed it into something entirely new. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was finally ready. The Velaran High Command's response to their lost scout ship was swift and brutal. Within hours of losing contact, their main fleet accelerated toward Earth, abandoning their methodical advance for a full-scale assault. In the command center of Luna Base, Admiral Torres watched the tactical display with growing concern as hundreds of crystalline warships pushed past Mars' orbit. They're moving faster than we anticipated, General Rodriguez noted, studying the projection. The loss of their scout has them rattled. They're abandoning caution for speed. Good, Torres replied, his eyes fixed on the dozen blue dots representing Earth's newly equipped quantum resonance vessels. The faster they come, the less time they have to adapt. Status of the defense fleet. The UES Defiant and 11 other ships are combat-ready with full QR systems, Sarah Chen reported from her station. Commander Reyes has been running continuous drills with the squadron. They're as prepared as they can be. The massive viewscreen showed the Velaran fleet's formation, a crystalline arrow aimed at humanity's heart. Their ships moved with perfect coordination, their advanced quantum technology letting them maintain precise positioning even at incredible speeds. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Communications Officer Lisa Chang announced. Plain message. The harsh, mechanical translation of the Velaran Supreme Commander filled the room. Primitive humans, your resistance is noted and dismissed. Your destruction will serve as an example to others who would dare to challenge the supremacy of the Velaran Empire. There will be no further warnings. Charming as ever, Torres muttered. He opened a channel to the defense fleet. Commander Reyes, status report. Elena's hologram appeared, her battle armor gleaming under the bridge lights of the Defiant. Squadron is in position behind Luna's dark side. QR systems are operating at peak efficiency. We're ready, Admiral. The Velarans will reach engagement range in 6 hours. Their numbers are overwhelming. Over 300 capital ships. Are you certain your tactics will work? Elena's expression was confident. The quantum resonance technology gives us capabilities they can't predict or counter. Dr. Chen's latest modifications have only improved our advantage. We're ready to show them exactly how primitive we are. As the hologram faded, Sarah approached Torres privately. Admiral, there's something you need to know. We've detected unusual quantum fluctuations in the Velaran fleet's signature. They're trying to adapt their systems based on the scout ship encounter. Can they replicate our technology? No, their approach to quantum manipulation is too fundamentally different. But they're not fools. They'll have developed countermeasures. This won't be as easy as the scout ship. Torres nodded grimly. Warn Commander Reyes. Tell her to expect surprises. The next 6 hours passed with excruciating slowness. Earth's population, unaware of the true nature of humanity's defensive capabilities, huddled in shelters as the Velaran fleet approached. The media broadcast what little information they were allowed, speaking of humanity's resolve, while carefully avoiding any mention of the quantum resonance breakthrough. In the Defiance Bridge, Elena reviewed the final battle plans with her squadron commanders. Remember, we're not trying to match them ship for ship. Use the QR fields to disrupt their formation. Strike fast, strike hard, and never stay still. They can't hit what they can't predict. The first Velaran ships appeared around Luna's edge right on schedule, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. The entire fleet followed in perfect attack formation, their weapons charging with visible energy. All ships, execute pattern Delta, Alina commanded. Show them what we can do. The 12 Earth ships emerged from hiding, their quantum resonance fields already active. They moved like ghost ships, appearing and disappearing from conventional sensors as they wove through space in ways that should have been impossible. The Velarans struck first, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons that could have vaporized a conventional fleet. But the Earth ships were already gone, their QR drives letting them shift position faster than light itself. They reappeared inside the Velaran formation, their own weapons precisely targeted. Multiple direct hits, Maya reported as the Defiant's quantum torpedoes found their marks. 3 enemy capital ships disabled. 5. 8. Their formation is breaking up. But the Velarans weren't going down easily. Their ships began emitting strange energy pulses, creating interference patterns that disrupted the quantum resonance fields. 2 Earth vessels briefly lost maneuverability, their crews fighting to restore full control. They've developed some kind of countermeasure, Sarah announced from her station, adjusting field frequencies to compensate. All ships switched to pattern Omega protocols. The battle devolved into chaos as hundreds of Velaran ships engaged the 12 Earth defenders. The quantum resonance technology kept humanity's vessels alive, letting them perform impossible maneuvers and strike with devastating precision. But the sheer number of enemy ships meant that even a small percentage of hits were getting through. UES Intrepid is reporting heavy damage, communications reported. QR field stability dropping. They're falling back to secondary positions. Helena watched as another wave of Velaran ships pressed their attack. Despite hundreds of disabled and destroyed enemy vessels, the alien fleet seemed endless. We need to change tactics. Dr. Chen, can we expand the QR field's effect radius? Sarah's hands flew across her console. Yes, but it would drain our power reserves quickly. We'd have maybe 2 minutes at full expansion. 2 minutes might be enough. All ships, form up on the Defiant. Prepare for synchronized field expansion on my mark. The 11 remaining Earth vessels moved into formation, their individual quantum resonance fields harmonizing into a single massive distortion in spacetime. At Alina's command, they released their built-up energy in an expanding wave of quantum probability manipulation. The effect was spectacular. Dozens of Velaran ships found themselves caught in a region of space where their advanced technology simply refused to function. Quantum-based weapons fizzled, shields collapsed, and propulsion systems went dark. Massive enemy casualties, Maya reported with barely contained excitement. Their entire front line is disabled. But before they could press their advantage, alarms blared across the bridge. Power reserves critical, Kai warned. We can't maintain the expanded field. As the quantum resonance effect contracted, the remaining Velaran ships pressed forward with renewed fury. They had lost nearly half their fleet, but they still outnumbered the Earth forces by a devastating margin. All ships, fall back to Luna's orbit, Alina ordered. Regroup and prepare for secondary defense line deployment. As the Earth squadron retreated under heavy fire, Alina opened a channel to Admiral Torres. Phase 1 complete, sir. Enemy fleet is bloody but still combat effective. Requesting permission to initiate Phase 2. Torres' response was immediate. Permission granted, Commander. Show them what else humanity has been hiding. Alina allowed herself a small smile as she looked at her crew. You heard the Admiral. Dr. Chen, prepare the quantum resonance cascade device. It's time to show the Velarans that humanity is far from finished. The quantum resonance cascade device hummed in the Defiant's engineering bay, its experimental components pulsing with barely contained energy. Dr. Marcus Webb made final adjustments to the device, while Chief Engineer Zhang monitored the power fluctuations with growing concern. "Are you certain this will work?" Elena asked Sarah, who stood studying the device's readouts with intense concentration. "Theoretically, yes. In practice," Sarah shrugged, "we never had time to test it properly. But the principles are sound. Instead of just disrupting their quantum fields, this will create a cascading reaction through their entire fleet. Every ship caught in the effect will experience a complete quantum probability collapse. In English, Doctor, their own technology will turn against them. The more advanced their quantum systems, the more devastating the effect." The bridge's tactical display showed the remaining Velaran fleet regrouping for another assault. They had lost nearly half their ships to the Earth Squadron's initial attack, but they still outnumbered humanity's defenders by more than 10 to 1. Their crystalline vessels had arranged themselves into a new formation, a massive sphere designed to attack from all directions simultaneously. "They're adapting," Maya noted from Tactical. "Their new formation minimizes the effectiveness of our maneuver-based attacks." Elena studied the display thoughtfully. "They think they've figured us out." "Good. Status of the other ships." 10 vessels still combat-capable, Kai reported. "The Intrepid is back online with partial QR field functionality. All ships report cascade device synchronization is complete." "Admiral Torres, we're ready to proceed with Phase 2, Elena announced over the command channel. "Understood, Commander. Be advised, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the Velaran fleet. They're preparing something big." As if on cue, the enemy ships began to pulse with brilliant energy. Their crystalline hulls resonated in perfect harmony, creating interference patterns that made space itself seem to ripple. "They're generating some kind of unified quantum field," Sarah exclaimed, analyzing the readings. "They're trying to overwhelm our QR systems through brute force." The Velaran attack came with devastating power. A wave of distorted spacetime rolled toward the Earth Squadron, threatening to disrupt their quantum resonance fields completely. But Elena was already moving. "All ships, execute sunburst formation," she commanded. "Cascade devices to full power on my mark." The 11 Earth vessels moved with perfect precision, arranging themselves in a complex three-dimensional pattern. Each ship's quantum resonance field linked with the others, creating a web of interconnected quantum probability manipulation. "Enemy wave impact in 10 seconds, Maya warned. "Cascade devices. Now." Multiple streams of energy erupted from the Earth ships, connecting their cascade devices into a single, synchronized system. As the Velaran quantum waves struck their formation, the cascade devices activated simultaneously. The effect was beyond anything they had simulated. The two quantum effects collided in space, creating a spectacular display of reality-bending energy. For a moment, it seemed like the Velaran attack would overwhelm them. But then the cascade reaction began. Starting with the nearest enemy ships, a wave of quantum probability collapse spread through the Velaran fleet. Their advanced technology, so dependent on precise quantum manipulation, began to fail catastrophically. Crystalline hulls cracked as their molecular bonds fluctuated wildly. Weapons systems overloaded. Shield generators imploded. "It's working," Sarah exclaimed. "The cascade is propagating through their entire formation. Their quantum fields are collapsing faster than they can adapt." Elena watched as ship after ship succumbed to the effect. The Velarans tried to retreat, but their own quantum-based propulsion systems betrayed them, leaving them trapped in the cascade's expanding radius. "Reading multiple enemy ships going dark," Maya reported. "Others are experiencing critical system failures. Their formation is completely broken." But the victory came at a cost. The massive energy requirements of the cascade devices had pushed the Earth ships to their limits. Warning alarms blared across the Defiance bridge as power systems struggled to cope with the strain. "We can't maintain the cascade much longer," Kai warned. "Power reserves critical across all ships." Elena opened a channel to the squadron. All vessels, emergency shutdown on my mark. Prepare for immediate tactical repositioning. The cascade effect ended as suddenly as it had begun, leaving behind a graveyard of disabled and dying Valoran ships. Of the original 300 enemy vessels, barely 50 remained operational, and those were scattered and disorganized. Status report, Elena demanded. Squadron power reserves at 15%, Kai replied. QR fields are stable but weak. We need time to recharge. Enemy survivors are regrouping, Maya added. They're falling back to minimum safe distance. Reading multiple emergency jumps, they're retreating. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, but Elena remained focused. Don't celebrate yet. Admiral Torres, are you seeing this? Affirmative, Commander. Well done. But our long-range sensors are picking up something concerning. The Valoran flagship is approaching, and it's unlike anything we've seen before. The tactical display updated to show a massive crystalline vessel emerging from quantum space. Nearly 10 times the size of a standard Valoran warship, its hull bristled with weapons and strange energy emitters. The Supreme Commander himself, Sarah breathed, analyzing the readings. That ship's quantum signature is off the charts. They must have been holding it in reserve. Elena studied the tactical situation grimly. Her squadron was depleted, their power reserves critically low. The remaining Valoran ships were regrouping around their flagship, preparing for what would surely be a final devastating assault. Orders, Admiral. Torres' response was immediate. Hold position, Commander. Dr. Chen, do you have any more surprises up your sleeve? Sarah exchanged a look with Dr. Webb, who had just arrived on the bridge. Maybe one, Admiral, but it's completely untested, and the risks. The risks are irrelevant, Elena interrupted. If that flagship reaches Earth, nothing else matters. What do you need? Sarah's fingers flew across her console, making rapid calculations. Time. Give me 30 minutes to modify the remaining cascade devices, and pray that my math is correct, because we'll only get one shot at this. As the massive Valoran flagship approached, its crystalline surface reflecting the light of Earth's sun, Elena looked at her tired but determined crew. They had already achieved the impossible once today. Now they would have to do it again, or everything they had fought for would be lost. You have 20 minutes, Doctor, she said firmly. Make them count. 20 minutes felt like an eternity as the Valoran flagship approached Earth's defensive line. In the Defiance makeshift laboratory, Sarah Chen and Marcus Webb worked frantically to modify the remaining cascade devices, while the depleted Earth squadron maintained formation despite their critically low power reserves. Talk to me, Dr. Chen, Elena called over the intercom. That flagship is almost in weapons range. Sarah barely looked up from her work, her hands moving swiftly among the device's complex components. The original cascade effect won't work on their flagship. Its quantum shielding is too sophisticated, too redundant. But if we invert the resonance frequency... Less theory, more results, Doctor, Elena interrupted. Can we stop that thing or not? Yes, Sarah replied firmly. But there's a catch. We'll need to get much closer than before, practically point-blank range. And the power requirements. She hesitated. Any ship that triggers the inverted cascade will be caught in the effect. Silence filled the command channel for a moment. You're saying this is a suicide mission, Elena said finally. I'm saying we need one ship to get close enough to initiate the cascade. The rest of the squadron can provide cover, but whoever delivers the payload won't be coming back. The massive Valoran flagship dominated the tactical display now, its crystalline surface rippling with barely contained energy. Smaller enemy vessels moved in formation around it, protecting their supreme commander as he prepared to deliver the final blow to Earth's defenders. The flagship is powering up its main weapon array, Maya reported tensely. Energy readings are beyond anything we've seen before. Elena made her decision. Dr. Chen, bring your device to the bridge. Lieutenant Rodriguez, plot an intercept course to the flagship. The Defiant will deliver the payload. Commander, Kai protested. Let me volunteer. You're needed to coordinate the squadron. Denied, Chief. This is my responsibility. Elena opened a channel to the rest of the squadron. All ships, this is Commander Reyes. The Defiant will approach the flagship under cover of a squadron-wide attack. Focus your fire on their escort vessels. Keep them busy while we deliver our package. Admiral Torres's voice cut in. Commander, are you certain about this? Someone has to do it, sir. It's been an honor. Elena closed the channel before Torres could respond. Dr. Chen, is that device ready? Sarah and Dr. Webb emerged from the elevator, carrying the modified Cascade device between them. Ready as it'll ever be. The modifications are complete, but we'll only get one chance. Then we make it count. All hands, this is the commander. Set condition 1 throughout the ship. This is what we've trained for. Let's show these aliens why you don't underestimate humanity. The Valoran flagship fired its main weapon, a beam of pure quantum energy that split space itself. The Earth squadron scattered, their weakened QR fields barely allowing them to dodge the devastating attack. The Defiant used the chaos of the squadron's evasive maneuvers to begin its approach. Enemy flagship is launching fighters, Maya reported. They're trying to box us in. Ignore them, Elena commanded. All power to the QR drive and forward shields. Plot a direct course to their command section. The Defiant accelerated, its quantum resonance field flickering as it pushed through the enemy formation. The other Earth ships provided covering fire, engaging the Valoran escorts with precise strikes that forced them to break formation. Their quantum shielding is adapting to our approach vector, Sarah warned from her station. The Cascade device needs 30 seconds of direct contact to initiate the reaction. Then we'll give it 30 seconds. Elena's voice was steel. Kai, divert all remaining power to the QR field. Maya, target their shield generators. We're going to punch right through their defenses. The Defiant shuddered as enemy fire impacted its weakening shields, but Elena's crew performed flawlessly, weaving through the increasingly desperate Valoran defense screen. The flagship loomed before them, its crystalline surface now crackling with defensive energy. Distance to target, 5,000 kilometers, Maya announced. 4,000, 3,000. The Valoran Supreme Commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. Primitive humans, your feudal resistance ends now. Witness the price of defying the Empire. The flagship's hull began to pulse with brilliant energy, preparing to unleash its full power against Earth. But the Defiant was too close now, moving too fast. All hands, brace for impact. Elena shouted. Dr. Chen, stand by with that device. The Defiant slammed into the flagship's quantum shields at full speed. For a moment, it seemed like they would bounce off. But their QR field created a momentary weakness in the barrier, just enough for the human ship to punch through. We're inside their shields, Kai reported triumphantly. Direct contact with their hull. Cascade device active, Sarah announced, her fingers flying across the controls, initiating quantum inversion. Now, the effect began slowly at first, a subtle ripple through the flagship's crystalline structure. Then the cascade reaction took hold, and reality itself seemed to twist around them. The Valoran ship's advanced quantum technology began to turn against it, each system's failure triggering a chain reaction through the others. It's working, Sarah exclaimed. Their quantum field is collapsing. But our QR systems are failing too. We need to get out of here. No, Elena said calmly. We knew this was a one-way trip. All hands, abandon ship, get to the escape pods. Commander, Maya protested, you can't stay. Someone has to make sure this device stays in contact long enough to finish the job. That's an order, Lieutenant. Get everyone off this ship. The bridge crew hesitated for only a moment before following their commander's orders. Sarah was the last to leave, pausing at the elevator. Elena, it's been an honor. The honor was mine, Doctor. Now go. Make sure humanity is ready for whatever comes next. Alone on the bridge, Alina watched as escape pods launched from the Defiant, quickly picked up by the other Earth vessels. The Veloren flagship was breaking apart around her, its once perfect crystalline structure shattering as the inverted cascade tore through its quantum fields. "Admiral Torres," she transmitted on her final channel. "The flagship is finished. Tell Earth. Tell them we did it." The massive alien vessel exploded in a spectacular display of quantum energy, taking the Defiant with it. The remaining Veloren ships, their supreme commander lost and their most powerful weapon destroyed, began an immediate retreat. Humanity had won. Hours later, in the command center of Luna Base, Admiral Torres stood with Sarah Chen and the other survivors, watching the last enemy ships vanish into quantum space. "They'll be back," Sarah said quietly. "Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not for years, but they'll return. And we'll be ready," Torres replied firmly. "Thanks to you, to Commander Reyes, to everyone who sacrificed to give humanity a fighting chance. The Velorans thought we were primitive, thought we were weak. They learned the hard way that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our determination to survive, to adapt, to overcome any challenge." Sarah nodded, already making notes on her tablet. "We'll need to improve the quantum resonance systems, find a way to make the cascade effect survivable. There's so much work to do." "Then we'd better get started," Torres said. "Because next time the Velorans come, they won't be underestimating us. Next time, we'll show them exactly what humanity can do when we're ready for them." As the sun rose over Earth, casting its light across a battlefield littered with the remnants of humanity's first major space victory, Sarah looked out at the stars. Commander Reyes and the crew of the Defiant had given their lives to prove that humanity deserved its place among those stars. Now it was up to the survivors to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The Velorans had come expecting to find primitive beings barely worth their notice. Instead, they had found humanity, resourceful, determined, and far more dangerous than they could have imagined. They would return, yes, but they would return knowing one crucial truth. It is unwise to underestimate those you consider primitive, for they might just surprise you with how quickly they can evolve.